Lamar Jackson is in his prime. The clock is ticking and the Ravens know it. Moving on from John Harbaugh wasn't a calm, comfortable decision. It was a loud signal of urgency. Baltimore can't afford to miss right now, because when you have a quarterback at this level, every single season matters. This next move isn't about some distant future. It's about winning while this window is still wide open. And that's exactly why one specific name is starting to gain real traction behind the scenes. It's not the flashiest option. It's not the most obvious one. But it might be the most dangerous fit to put the Ravens back on a Super Bowl path. If you want to understand why this choice makes so much sense for Lamar Jackson and what's truly at stake if Baltimore gets this wrong again, stay with me until the end. Let's get straight to the point. Lamar Jackson is in his prime. This isn't hope. It isn't projection. It's reality. When a quarterback reaches this stage, you can hear the clock getting louder. Every year counts. Every decision carries weight. And every mistake comes with a real cost. John Harbaugh's departure comes from that exact pressure. Baltimore isn't bored. Baltimore is in a hurry. When the conversation turns to a head coach for Lamar Jackson, that doesn't mean Lamar is picking names or calling shots. It means something much simpler and much more serious. The entire operation has to move at the quarterback's pace. There's no room to test ideas or start long-term experiments when your most important player is ready to win right now. This coach has to walk in ready to lead, ready to demand accountability, and ready to keep the team competitive from day one. Lamar doesn't need someone to teach him how to play football. He needs structure. He needs stability. And he needs a locker room that believes the goal is winning, not explaining losses. Once you understand that, it becomes clear the debate isn't who's the best coach available, but who can protect this window without wasting time. And that's where one specific name starts to make more and more sense in this conversation. If the goal is to avoid wasting time and keep the team in win-now mode, Brian Flores almost feels like the logical answer. Not because he's the most hyped name out there, but because he brings exactly what this moment demands: immediate command. Flores doesn't arrive to learn the room. He arrives to take control of it. The article makes it clear that Baltimore doesn't need a cultural reset. The team already has an identity. It already has leaders. It already knows how to compete. The challenge is keeping that edge sharp after Harbaugh's exit. Flores fits because he doesn't soften messages. He doesn't delay accountability, and he doesn't create comfort zones. In a locker room led by Lamar Jackson, that matters. Look at it from the quarterback's perspective. Lamar doesn't need to worry about whether the locker room will buy into the head coach. He needs to know someone is firmly holding the reins while he does what he does best on the field. Flores already proved in Miami that he can be that figure, even in difficult situations. In Baltimore, the situation will be far more favorable. And when you connect that to the urgency of Lamar's window, the conversation stops being just about leadership. It becomes about avoiding regret. Because the Ravens' recent history already shows what happens when decisions like this get delayed too long. That fear of regret isn't theoretical. It already happened, and it's happening right now. Mike Macdonald is living proof. While Baltimore hesitated, he moved on, took over a new job, and quickly started winning in Seattle. This isn't about nostalgia. It's about consequences. The article uses Macdonald as an uncomfortable mirror. A coach who knew the building, understood the roster, and carried the Ravens' defensive identity is now thriving elsewhere, while Baltimore tries to rediscover that same DNA. For a team in the Lamar Jackson era, mistakes like that hit twice as hard, because there's no pause button when your quarterback is in his prime. Every season the franchise misses the timing is a season Lamar never gets back. You can't promise that 2 years from now it'll work. Macdonald's success reinforces that reality. Good decisions made too late are still bad decisions when the clock is running. And that leads to an even clearer conclusion. If missing on a head coach costs time, then getting it right isn't just about choosing a strong name. It's about choosing someone who can immediately restore what the team has lost along the way.
All right, we're already past the halfway point of this video. But before we continue, I noticed you haven't left a like yet. It's really important because it helps YouTube keep showing you my content so I can keep bringing you the best news about the Baltimore Ravens. So go ahead and hit that like button It's free and it really helps. Thanks. Now let's get back to it.
The Ravens have always been more than just an explosive offense. Historically, they've won when the defense controlled games, dictated tempo, and took pressure off quarterback. When that identity fades, everything falls on Lamar's shoulders. And the article makes it clear that this overload is part of the current problem. That's where Brian Flores becomes especially compelling. His entire coaching profile is built on organized, aggressive, mentally tough defenses. Players like Marlon Humphrey and Nate Wiggins aren't mentioned by accident. They represent talent that can still reach another level when placed in schemes that value instinct, physicality, and fast correction instead of punishment. For Lamar, that changes everything. A strong defense removes the need for constant heroics. It doesn't force the quarterback to win every game by himself. It allows him to play with margin, control, and the comfort of knowing the other side of the ball is doing its job too. Once that machine starts to make sense, it becomes obvious that Flores' fit isn't just tactical, it's structural. And that naturally leads to the most important question of all. Does Flores limit Lamar on offense? Or does he actually unlock him? This is where the article draws a clear line. Brian Flores isn't an offensive-minded head coach, and that's not a problem. Lamar Jackson doesn't need a head coach calling plays for him. He needs someone who understands the full picture, organizes a house, and gives the offense room to function with the right people in place. Flores has already shown he knows how to delegate. He understands that leadership isn't about controlling everything, but about aligning strong voices around a shared goal. Whether that means keeping Todd Monken or bringing in another creative offensive mind, the logic stays the same. The offense exists to serve Lamar, not the head coach's ego. That kind of structure protects the quarterback. It avoids internal friction, prevents constant identity shifts, and keeps the focus exactly where it should be, winning now, not explaining processes, not justifying transitions, not asking for patience. That's why the article ultimately frames Flores as a second chance that makes sense for both sides. He's never had a roster this complete. Baltimore has never had a quarterback this good with this level of urgency. When those two lines intersect, the decision stops being emotional and becomes purely logical. Lamar Jackson is in his prime. The roster is still competitive, and the margin for error is gone. Everything discussed here comes back to one word: time. This isn't about starting over. It's about sustaining what's already built to win. The next head coach will determine whether the Ravens attack this window aggressively or waste another year trying to find themselves. Brian Flores enters this moment not as a promise, but as an answer to an immediate need: clear leadership, real accountability, a defense with identity, and a structure that doesn't restrict the offense. This isn't about reinventing Lamar. It's about creating an environment where he can play at the highest level without carrying the entire team on his back every single week. When urgency, talent, and an elite quarterback collide, decisions have to be precise. Now I want to hear from you. Is Brian Flores the right coach to lead the Ravens in the Lamar Jackson era? Or do you see another name that makes more sense right now? Drop your take in the comments. I want to read all of them and keep this conversation going.
And if you, just like me, are passionate about the world of football and want to learn more about the Ravens' legacy, don't leave this video without sharing it with that friend who is also a Baltimore Ravens fan and will love this content. See those video suggestions on your screen? The first one was handpicked just for you, and the other is a recommendation from YouTube itself.